Hello, everyone. Welcome to Online Seller UK podcast. My name is Prabhat, founder at Online Seller UK, and today we've got really interesting topic. I say the interesting, but all the topics are interesting anyway, because it's a new topic all the time. But today is all about barcodes, and I've got Camilla with me from GS1 UK. We'll be talking more. So, welcome to our podcast.
Hi, Prabhat. Thanks.
Excellent. So, I think it's good to start with your introduction, what you do for GS1 UK, and we take it from there.
Yes, so my name is Camilla Young, and I'm actually leading the programme on the next generation of barcodes for GS1 UK. And those are QR codes powered by GS1.
Excellent. So I think QR codes, we are seeing this everywhere these days. You know, you can scan things and go somewhere. Everything is looks like it's QR coded. So we know GS1 UK is popular for 13-digit barcodes or 12-digit barcodes. So so why QR codes?
Why QR codes? So, well, as you said, QR codes are kind of everywhere nowadays. But actually, a lot of the QR codes that you're seeing will be linking to marketing pages, and they're not following a standard format. And with QR codes powered by GS1, what we're actually doing is bringing the GS1 standards, which are used by over 2 million companies globally and have this common language that we pass through the supply chain. So we're bringing those standards and we're applying them to QR codes. And what that means is that we can create these kind of really smart codes that carry a lot more data than a normal QR code that you might see on a pack. And that means that there's going to be things like you can put your GTIN in there, and that can link to different sources of information on the internet, kind of like a normal QR code does, but with the addition of a GTIN or global trade item number. But you can also add in additional data points. So things like batch numbers, lot numbers, serial numbers, use by dates can all go in that data string, which means that when you're scanning that code, you're getting a lot more information out of it, either as a consumer or as a retailer or someone else within the supply chain.
Okay, so are we saying the QR codes are mainly for the informational purpose for the consumers? Is that the main aim?
New ones?
Yes,
so I think there's a few different angles, right? So from a consumer perspective, yes, consumers are looking for much more information from when they're scanning those codes. So at the moment, they're getting maybe a link to a competition page or maybe the company's website. But actually, in the future, they're going to want more information about products. We know a lot about sustainability and the importance of that moving forwards. Well, people are going to need to know more about the products, where they've come from, what what carbon footprint they've got, what's been involved in the processing of them, for them to be able to make decisions about what products they're using and how they're disposing of them afterwards as well. So from a consumer perspective, yes, and we see the consumer use of QR massively growing as we add more information, but also these will add loads of value throughout the supply chain and for retailers. And if you think about if you're supplying a product to someone and actually they can scan that product and get information that they need to comply with various regulations, because there's a lot of reporting that needs to happen now for environmental reasons via some of the resellers, for example, then that will become more important for the people the people throughout the supply chain who have to report on what they're selling.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think then going down to it's all good, but from the retailer's perspective, it may be it's additional work, and there has to be planning in place to work with all the SKUs and so on. So what are the steps that a retailer need to take to start implementing these changes?
Well, it depends on the retailer, it depends on the product types, it depends on their current systems and processes. So unfortunately, it's not a one size fits all. And also there's going to be phases of change. So what we're seeing is the first phase of change is that people are adding GTINs to the QR codes and they're making sure that they comply with our standards, so that if a retailer does start scanning them, they'll be able to know that they're getting the right information from those QR codes and it's not sending them to the wrong destination, i.e. a marketing site. So that is the first stage, and we see that being relatively easy to implement, and we see that retailers will be able to do that quite quickly, dependent on their technologies. Where it gets more complex is when you start to add additional data points, because if you're adding a batch number or a lot number or a use by date, then that needs to be done at the point where you're producing that item. Whereas currently, when you put a QR code on a pack or a barcode on a pack, you tend to do that on your label and it's fixed and it stays there and you don't have to keep changing it. But obviously in the future, that QR code will need to get printed on the production line if you want to have that additional data in there.
Okay, cool. I think that's what I see that happening. I'm just trying to think, how does it impact then the existing listing, which is already in the retail space now? We are quite a lot linked to Amazon sellers at this stage. So just trying to think how that affects the existing listing within Amazon, for instance. I'm sure you've been asked this question a lot of times before, but yeah, so if you could help us understand that, that'd be helpful.
So it doesn't change the existing listing. What we're suggesting is that as you start to prepare for this change, so we're working towards a date of 2027 globally when all retailers or the majority of retailers will be able to scan at point of sale. Now, some of those retailers will do it earlier, some of them will do it later. But what we're recommending is that as you're producing new products or you're thinking about how you're labeling, when you're doing your labeling upgrades, if you can make sure that when you're printing those, you start to print those QR codes on the pack so that you're ready for when it does happen, and that also that you're using our standards and making sure that any QR codes that you are putting on pack are compliant with GS1 standards. So if you're using QR codes right now, are you using a GS1-powered QR code, i.e. does it have a GTIN within it? If not, we've got guidance around how you can do that. But for the future, yes, you do need to start to get ready, but it's not going to happen overnight. It's a transition over time. So what we're trying to do is get the message out there so that if this isn't an abrupt change, it's a kind of phase change that as you're producing new things, you go, okay, yeah, QR codes, I need to have that compliant.
Absolutely. No, thanks very much for explaining that. So I think I've covered some things which I had in mind. Is there anything I'm missing out in terms of QR codes?
Yeah, I think it would be good to kind of talk through some of the benefits that I see from particularly from a marketplace's perspective, because I think there are some really good opportunities here with these QR codes that you can start leveraging today to solve some problems potentially.
Yeah.
So obviously we talked about kind of connecting to consumers and we talked about using QR codes as a marketing channel on your packaging. The thing about our digital link standards is that you can change the content and publish new content without having to change your packaging. So you can publish a QR code with smart links on it and then just change those links change what those links point to rather than having to change your pack every time you want to change your QR content. So that's a really quick, easy win for people right now. The other thing is if you're shipping stock to other countries, there are ways that you can use these QR codes to comply with local regulations. So I don't know if you know about eco-labeling requirements in different countries. And then there are people we work with, we've got partners who are able to provide a solution that will serve up the correct eco-label in the country that it's being scanned in. So you don't have to put all the different logos on your pack. You can actually put them in a virtual environment. Also, if a consumer is scanning that code in a different country, you can serve up the packaging information in their language using a QR code. So there's some really quick, easy wins there. Also, for a lot of people, they'll be affected by the EU digital product passport that's coming. And QR codes powered by GS1 can really help you to deliver the information, the data required to comply with that digital product passport legislation. So there's some really great opportunities to kind of help overcome some hurdles, particularly with that cross-border trading that I know a lot of people will be doing via Amazon, and to make sure they're still compliant.
Yeah, absolutely. So it looks like it's a lot to it than just the code itself. So
yes, yeah, it's not just the code; it's what it links to. It's the data. The reason we're talking about this is the data requirements, I guess, are just building all the time, and the amount of data that needs to be shared between different parties, whether that's regulators, consumers, retailers, and actually a barcode, can only hold one data point really, which is the GTIN, and a QR code can hold so much more. Plus it can link to all this stuff on the internet. So it just opens up so many possibilities, and it really helps us to manage this kind of ever increasing need for more data.
Yeah, absolutely. Excellent. So obviously some of the listeners or people who are listening to it would be quite interested in implementing things. So if they want to talk to members of the team, so where is the best place to contact?
Yes, so you can find us on links on our website to contact us directly. So that's GS1UK.org. But also we have a partner program. So we have different solution providers who can offer you like a real plug and play solution. And you can find them on our website as well. So you could contact someone who could just deliver this for you. So that's one option. We're also going to be running a series of webinars soon. So I can get you a link to that, Prabhat, that you can share for people who want to sign up for the webinars.
Excellent. Right, you. All right. Thank you very much for your time today, and I'll speak to you soon. All the best. Bye for now.